Hey, welcome to another Living Life Naturally podcast. Today we are very privileged to have the legendary Udo Erasmus. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes, and
Yes.
I may only be a legend in my own mind.
Well, we all would like to be that. So Udo is the person who is found in Whole Foods and other health food stores worldwide. He invented the machinery for making oils, enzymes, probiotics, and more. So he first pioneered flaxseed oil and the healthy fats industry. And he's also an acclaimed author, speaker, and expert on total sexy health. He has an 8-step process for that takes into consideration all of the elements of whole health that includes our mental health, presence and awareness, life energy, and being in harmony with nature and humanity. So he has actually given over 5,000 live presentations on nutrition and health, 3,000 plus media interviews, 1,500 staff trainings, and he's traveled to 30 plus countries with his message on oils, healthcare, nature, and human nature. He had an extremely rough childhood growing up in a war zone and lived without water and electricity. So in 1980, Udo got pesticide poisoning and his doctors didn't know what to do to help him. So he decided to take his health into his own hands, and through deep research made discoveries that changed the trajectory of his life and purpose. So today he is a teacher at Tony Robbins events and Deepak Chopra. He has keynoted international brain health conferences, lectured at conferences on 5 continents, and he has extensive education in biochemistry, genetics, and biology, as well as nutrition, and a master's degree in counseling. So you really have done a whole lot, been a lot of places, done a lot of things. So where are you joining us from today?
I'm in Vancouver.
Ah, cold?
We got sunshine.
Wow.
I was just gonna stick my feet in the ocean.
Ah.
Because on sunny days the ocean water is very, very nice.
And where are you from originally?
I was born in Poland during the Second World War when it was part of Germany. My parents were from Latvia and Estonia with German, Swedish background.
Wow, very interesting.
Yeah.
Even more interesting to me is the toxic world that you grew up in, and yet you decided to make a whole total turnaround. So tell us a little bit about your story.
Well, the long story is when I was 6 years old, after we made it through the war, I was a refugee during the war, and we were fleeing from the communists who were chasing us in tanks and trucks, and the Allies were shooting at us from planes. And these were roads where there were only women and children in horse-drawn wagons. So this was not military. They were using refugees for target practice.
Wow.
And these are the good guys. You know, these were what we call the good guys. So when it comes to war, I don't have much sympathy for either side, because war is a form of insanity on either side most of the time. So when I was 6, I listened to people arguing, and my life was so crazy that when I listened to them arguing, I said, what they're arguing about is trivial. There must be a way that we can live in harmony, and I'm going to find out how. That's I was 6 years old. I didn't know how complicated everything was. But that's been my driver all my life. That's how I got into science, to know how things work, biology, how creatures work, psychology, how thinking works. Did a year of medicine, wanted to know how health works, but medicine's about disease. It's not healthcare, it's disease management. Yeah. And so I left and went back into biochemistry and genetics, because there you're studying nature the way nature is when it's working. You're not studying sickness, you're studying health. And then I left because I wanted to know, still wasn't finding what I was looking for. And I ended up in doing self-knowledge, a lot of self-knowledge stuff, because I basically needed to know how I work. And given that it was really chaotic in my childhood, I had a lot of learning to do, remedial learning as an adult. And then I got married and we had 3 kids, and our marriage broke up, and I was really upset. So really upset. And I took a job as a pesticide sprayer because I wanted to kill something. And pesticides are created to kill living things. So I did a job, very careless, walked barefoot over the sprayed lawns that I had sprayed until the skin peeled off my feet. And I wore rubber boots, but I always did it in a bathing suit because it was a summer job and I liked getting a tan. Vanity, vanity, you know. And when I got poisoned, I went to the doctor and asked, what do you have for pesticide poisoning? She said nothing. And that day it became crystal clear that self-responsible healthcare is what we need, because if I don't care about my health, maybe nobody does, because the doctor gets paid even if I die.
Right, true.
And life wants to take care of me, but I have to align with it to at least give it the building blocks it needs to make a body that works. And so I need to eat in line with nature. And the higher the standard is, the closer I am to that, the better a body life can build for me. And so I got into that, and I got into the journals to read the research on nutrition and health, nutrition and disease, and a little bit of water and air and all of that. And I got stuck on fats because fats, I realized, I didn't learn this in biochemistry at university, but fats are the most sensitive of all of our nutrients. They need the most care because they're damaged by light, by oxygen, by heat, especially the essential fatty acids that the body can't make that have to come from outside. So they're easily damaged. They need a lot of care, and we give them the least care. We throw them in frying pans. And when you fry oils that have omega-3 and omega-6 in them, the way I explain it briefly is oils are vindictive. They treat you like you treat them. So if you take care of them, they will take care of your health. But if you fry them, they will fry your health. And so and when I realized how much damage is done, the research now says that more health problems come from damaged oils, and they can be damaged in lots of different ways, than any other part of nutrition. Wow. And more health benefits come from giving your body the oil change it needs, from dirty oils out, clean oils in, than any other part of nutrition. And so and then we realized 1980, I got poisoned. 1981 was the year that research established that omega-3s are actually essential nutrients that your body can't make, that you have to have, that if you don't get enough, your health goes down. If you don't get enough you die. But if you bring them back before you die, then all of the problems that come from not getting enough are reversed, because life knows these are the building blocks, the essential building blocks for body construction. Life knows how to make a body that works, provided I take responsibility right here in my mouth, by my mouth, what I put in there and what I swallow, to make sure that I optimize those essential building blocks so life can do its job. It knows the job, but I have to supply the building blocks. That's why eating is important, and drinking is important, and breathing is important. And then when I do that, if I'm sick and I raise my standard for intake of water, air, and food to be more in line with how nature was before we got polluted, then within 1 year, life will have turned over 98% of the atoms in my body and replaced them with new atoms. So the body is always a major construction site. And in 1 year, I can rebuild 98% of my body to a higher standard if I have raised my standard of intake. That's why healing is possible. That's how healing happens. but then you have to raise the standards. You can't say, I'm sick, I want to get healthy, and then eat the same junk that made you sick and expect that all of a sudden now it's going to be different, or throw drugs at it, because nobody has a deficiency of drugs. A lot of people have deficiencies of vitamin A and vitamin D and magnesium and zinc and vitamin C, and 99% of the population does not get enough omega-3s for optimum health. And so I thought, you know what? Oh my God, we could help so many people if we could bring omega-3s, the most sensitive nutrients, made with health in mind, back into the diet of people, because they affect every cell. And the research now says that when you increase omega-3s, if they're not damaged and they don't contain toxins, you can improve virtually every major degenerative condition of our time. Oils need to be made with health in mind. Industry has never done that. So I basically said, I'm going to do it. And then I thought, well, who am I to buck a big industry like that? They just didn't do it because they weren't focused on health. They were focused on shelf life and profits.
Right.
So that's what happened. That's the short version of the short story.
So going back to the fats that you help to create and to make, how then do you know which ones you can cook certain ways with?
I call that the Russian roulette question. When you throw oils in a frying pan, you damage them by light, oxygen, and heat, impacting them all at the same time. Frying is the worst, stupidest, most dangerous, and most destructive thing we've ever invented to do with our food. Now, when I was a kid, most people called it cooking when you cooked your foods in water. Then they don't burn. But now cooking means frying. And in those days, in my early childhood, with cooking with oil was called frying. So what we're now calling frying cooking, it's the dumbest thing to do. And there is not a single oil or fat that does not do damage to your health when you fry it. And in fact, it's so bad because you overheat them. You know, oils boil at they fry at 180 to 250 degrees Celsius, so up to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. That heat burns foods. That's why when you fry foods, they turn, yellow to brown to black to smoke. And all of the burnt part is toxic molecules that didn't exist in nature. They were not part of the food supply, because the food supply originally was fresh, whole, raw, organic, local, and in season. Right? That was nature's standard for health. So they turn into molecules that never existed in nature. And because of that, life never made a genetic program to break them down, to deal with them. So then you get them in your body and they pile up and they occupy space in your body, but can't do the work that whatever is supposed to occupy that space should be doing. And so they interfere with your health. Every molecule that is unnatural, that is burnt, is toxic because of that. And so what I say to people is, you have a frying pan, everybody does, right? Go get it, turn it upside down, hit yourself on the head with it really hard, so it's associated with pain, and then throw it in the garbage. And go back to cooking in water, and then add good oils after the food comes off the heat. You can put good oils in hot food, but not for frying. So you cook in water. That's how olive oil was traditionally used, not for frying. It was traditionally used. They cooked their vegetables in water, dumped the water, added oil for flavor, because oils enhance flavors, and they improve the absorption of the oil-soluble nutrients in the foods. So they're good for health. It's good for health to add them into the food, but it's really bad for health to fry them. So don't do that anymore.
Right. So, of course, I was brought up in Europe too, so we really didn't fry a lot of foods.
Right. Although they do now.
They do now.
Everybody does. I've gone around the world. In Asia, everybody fries. In Europe, everybody fries now. North America, of course, everybody fries. And everybody and the industry pushed that because if people cook in water, they don't sell any oil. If they can get people to cook in oil, then they make money. And it's like a 100 billion plus industry annually.
Wow.
But you pay for it not just for the oil, you pay for it with your health too. And that's maybe not a price you need to have to pay.
Right.
You can if you want. It's not like anybody can keep you from frying, but if you want to be healthy, then it's the number one thing to give up. And number two is white sugar and all of that kind of stuff.
Right. So let me flip gears here for a minute, because one of the things that you teach about is the concept of total sexy health and the 8 steps that you use. So would you share a little about that with us as well?
Yeah. So I got from oils as my entry point into health, because nobody was doing it and it was complicated. So I made sense of it, and I developed flaxseed oil, which is unbalanced, and then I developed a blend that is better balanced. And so I worked with that. Then I got into digestion, and probiotics and digestive enzymes are really big, because if you cook foods, you kill the probiotics that are on them and you destroy the enzymes that are in them. The enzymes do 60% of the digestion of raw foods for you. That work now falls to your digestive system. It wasn't made for that. So then your immune system has to get involved, and then all kinds of stuff happens over time. And so that's what I did. And then I started, when I was going around, I would see people who knew more than I did about health, and they had all kinds of problems because they had all the knowledge in their head, but they weren't applying it in practice. And so I started thinking, why is it that people sometimes know so much more than they put in practice? And of course, I had to look at myself too. I know more than I put in practice too.
Right.
So why is that? And I started to think about it, and as I came to the conclusion that the changing is hard. We have habits, and we've run those habits for 20 years, 30 years, 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, same habit, same habit, same habit. And then to actually say, okay, well, I'm just going to do something else now. That's really hard, because your whole body draws you to maintain your habits, because your whole body is created to confirm and to align with those habits. Your nervous networks and your hormonal functions and the kind of chemistry you create in the body, it's all aligned. So how do you change a habit when we know it's hard? And I realized that the way people, what makes changing habits easier is if you're inspired. Because when you're inspired, you have energy. And that energy lifts you out of your thinking ruts, your habit ruts. And then, because when you're inspired, you say, oh my God, it's so great to be alive. I feel so good. I don't want to check out a day sooner than I absolutely have to. And I will do whatever it takes to be here as long as I can, as healthy as I can, as functional as I can, as it is possible for me to be. And because there's so much energy and there's joy in living, then saying, you know what, I know I've been frying for a while. Okay, well, now I'm not going to fry every day. Let me just fry 6 times a week, or 5 times, or 4 times, and then just take it down till you're at no times a week. It's not that hard to do when you're inspired.
Right.
But when you're not inspired, then you're heading towards depression. And when you're depressed, everything is too much work. And in fact, when people get depressed enough and low enough, they will come to the conclusion that it would be better not to be here and destroy their own body. So what's the difference between somebody who's suicidally depressed and willing to destroy their body and someone who's going to make every change they can make to make this the longest, happiest, most incredible life that's ever been on this planet? The difference is inspiration. Now, what gets you inspired? And that then said that, so I got to the point where I said, okay, it's important to give accurate information, Because when you lie to people, it's a form of dictatorship because you take away their choice. So accurate information that you can use to act on is really important. But it is just as important to be inspired. And so then one thing led to another and said, well, what else affects health? And it was like, oh my God, everything affects health. Actually, everything affects health. Everything. And so then, well, what is everything? So I broke it down into 8 different parts because they're all different in their nature. They're all different in their function. They all need a different kind of attention. They all need attention on a regular basis. They all go off in a different way, and they all respond to a different kind of intervention. And starting from the center of existence, so if you were to be able to bring your focus of awareness to the core of your being, what would you find there? At the deepest being, there would be awareness. You would become aware of being aware. In that place is where your wholeness lives, your perfect peace exists as an experience, not as a concept, not a concept of peace. That's what we do, you know, let's do a horse trade and so then we'll have peace. Or peace is the absence of war. That's BS. That's completely not true, because after the war ends, often both sides hate each other just as much as they did, or maybe even more than before the war happened. Peace is actually has biological roots in every human being. It already exists there, but usually we're not focused there because that requires sitting down and becoming still and just becoming present in the space that the body occupies. So that's the most basic level. The second level is life energy. Life energy comes from the sun, is captured by plants, goes into the molecules, is stored in the bonds between atoms and molecules. We eat those molecules as food. We break them down, the energy is released, and we live on that solar energy. That energy is called life when we're talking about inside. It's called sunlight on the outside, life on the inside. That energy is the master in the body. It weighs nothing, it runs everything. And it unconditionally loves the body 100% of the time, 24/7, 365, lifelong. Even if I say, I hate my life, it continues to take care of me. And it knows, you know, it created the genetic program over many, many eons of time and uses that genetic program to run everything on a molecular, cellular, organ systems, human level. And that energy is in every creature on the planet, including the trees and the shrubbery and the flowers and the animals and the monkeys and the people. And that energy, I call it the master, because it knows everything about the body. It is all power in the body, and it is everywhere present in the body. And actually, we are that energy. So if I say to you, hey, whose body is that? And I point at you, then what would you say?
That's my body.
Yeah, it's my body, right? Everybody, almost everybody would say that. Sometimes people have cosmic answers, but most people would say, this is my body. But you know, if you say this is your body, you have just busted yourself because you've just told me that you are not the body. Does that make sense? It's like this, look, here, whose glasses are these?
Those are your glasses.
They're my glasses. Am I the glasses?
No.
I'm the owner of the glasses. So when you say that this is my body, you're actually saying I'm the owner of this body. So who are you as the owner?
I'm the one responsible for it.
Right, but who are you? What is that? What is it? What is the you that is responsible for the body? And it's life. It's that energy. And that's who you are in your individual essence. You are not the body, you are actually energy. And when life and the body part company, your body goes down and breaks down, and that life energy does not break down. It doesn't die. It just becomes invisible. you know, whether you call it soul or spirit or whatever you
Right.
call it. But I'm talking about the experience of it. And so when you, again, in order to get to know yourself, who you really are, you need to quiet time, bring your awareness inside, feel that care that life is and has for your body. And out of that comes not only lots of energy, because it's your power, and when you feel the power, it's beautiful, right? Whereas if you're just thinking about, oh, I'm getting old, and oh, you know, my kids are grown and they don't pay attention to me anymore, and what's the point of living, you know, and then you're going to be depressed. But if you actually do the homework, that's the work we do at home, right? And you get in touch with the energy that is your life, you become energized. And then life is, oh my God, oh, I can do this and I can do this. And thank God I don't have to deal with the kids anymore, you know, and I can go travel and I can hang out with my friends, and I can, I don't know, go naked, run around naked in the woods, on the beach, or, you know, this deserted beach, or whatever it is that you come up with. That's going to be fun. That's going to be joyful for the time that you have when all your chores are done, right? So that's number 2. So number 3 is inspired creativity. When I'm in touch with that energy, there's, you know, all my insights come from life. They're already there. There's like an ocean of answers inside of us for questions we haven't even thought to ask yet. Anything I want to know about life and living, you know, we go to experts on the outside. Where do they get it from? From the expert on the inside. The expert, your expert, lives on the inside and is running the show. Why not talk to it? How should I live? You know, look around. How should I live? And it's not that hard. The answers are there, but you can't figure them out. You know, Einstein's once said, he said 99 times I think and think and think and I get nothing. And then one time I get quiet and I float in silence and the answer comes to me. That's one of the values of spending time getting present in our own space. And so that inspiration is the shine of that energy. And it's usually it's the shine into the world. It's the expression of, it's the expression of love that life is. And out of that inspiration come projects to make life easier, to make life better, to make life more fun, whether you're talking about entertainment or you're talking about gadgets or you're talking about computers and the cloud and television, and, you know, all of that comes out of inspiration. The easier it is for you to get to the place where that inspiration comes from, the more inspired you'll be, the more ideas you'll have, the more cool things you can do that are really fun to do. So that's number 3. Number 4 is the physical body. That's where everybody's mostly focused. Even though we are not the body, we live as though we were, right? Because we do everything for the body. You eat for the body, sleep for the body, go to the can for the body, you know, dress for the body, undress for the body, sleep for the body, have sex for the body. You know, we do most everything for the body. Get a job to make money for the body, because your life doesn't need money. Your body does. And when we talk about health on the body level, we're mostly talking about food and fitness. And included in that is digestion and detoxification and avoiding toxins and, you know, doing exercise, but also resting and healing and sleeping. So that's the physical. That's number 4. Number 5, I call survival smarts. You know, if inspiration is the positive, the thrival part of mind, then survival smarts is the survival part of mind. And that's based on skills and perception and being aware of the environment. And that's for the protection of the body as well as procreation. So that's number 5. And how good you are in each one of those plays a role in how healthy you are and how well you live. Number 6 is social group. And you know that the people you spend time with affect your health. So there are certain people you don't like to be with because they affect your health in a negative way. And we knew that as kids, because when we were kids, even outside playing soccer, and somebody would upset us, we just would yell at him, "You make me sick." Right? So we even knew as kids that other people can make us sick. But the good part of it is other people can also inspire us. Other people can also help us find our own inspiration and our own beauty and our own magnificence and our own wholeness as a reminder. And then sometimes we get inspired because somebody was inspired and it rubbed off on us. And then we can make changes easier that will maintain that inspiration, right? So that's number 6. Number 7 is the natural environment. Obviously, if you're living on a dump, it's going to affect your health different than if you live in a pristine natural setting, where you got sunshine and you got clean water and you got clean air, and the birds are singing, and the squirrels are racing around and up and down trees. And there's good research that has people in Norway, when kids are sick, they take them out into nature for a few days, and it's very healing. It's very healing because we belong in nature. We are part of that natural system. We come out of that nature system. Everything we eat and everything our body's made out of comes out of that natural system, right? So and then if we dump tar and poisons and pesticides and industrial chemicals into that environment, then we mess up the environment, of course, and that comes back to us. So that's number 7. And then number 8 is the big picture. The big picture is being okay, accepting, relaxed in the knowledge that the body is a terminal condition in an infinite universe. And the goal for living well is to be fully present in all 5 of the aspects of human nature and the surroundings. So being fully present in all of our being and our surroundings, and not being lost in our head or lost in our emotions with fears and conflict and anger and anxiety and depression and confusion, and doubt and shame and embarrassment, because where does all that come from? Life never said there was anything wrong with you. In fact, there has never, ever been anything wrong with anybody from life's perspective. Even though we felt bad, and then we had stupid thoughts, and then we expressed them, which was not appropriate, and then we did bad actions and they led to bad consequences. And we've all done that in our life, deliberately or by accident, right? But we are not the consequences, and we are not the actions, and we are not the words, and we are not the thoughts, and we are not the bad feelings. We are life in our essence. There has never, ever, and can never, ever be anything wrong with life. And life is beyond health and illness, and life is beyond life and death. And so is awareness. And the more time we spend in that and have that also accessible as part of what we bring into every situation, the more amazing we will feel, the more amazing we will think, speak, and act, the more amazing outcomes will come from that kind of presence. Right?
So, and you wrote a book about this, correct?
Yeah, I wrote an overview book. You could write a book on each one of those 8 parts, but I wrote an overview book. It's called The Book on Total Sexy Health. And we called it that. Why sexy? Because sexy is the power word on the planet, pretty much, right?
Right.
And it's not just about having sex. It's about, we call architecture sexy, and we call painting sexy, and we call technology sexy. Sexy is a word that is used in a much broader than just a sexual understanding. So what does sexy mean? Fully present, aware, full on, present, lit up, energized. And anything that brings us closer to that also makes us more sexually attractive. But if we disconnect, if we get out of line with any one of those 8 parts, each of which confers something to our sexy, then we lose the part that it confers. And when we realign with it, we get that sexy back. So it's a nice model. It's like, you know, when you're fully present in all of your being and your surroundings, you're going to be very attractive. Right?
Right.
And attractive in 100 different ways, not just sexually, but in 100 different ways. People like to be around people who are fully present because there's charisma in presence.
True.
And people like charisma.
Yes.
Sometimes they're so attracted to charisma that even if the thoughts are nasty, like a dictator, right? The reason why dictators get a following is they have a certain kind of charisma.
Right.
Sometimes the charisma will mislead people because they're paying attention only to a part of it, and they're not paying attention to other parts of, you know, of a dictator's or a charismatic person's personality. And sometimes they're narcissists, and sometimes they just take and never give anything. But when you're fully present in all of your being, you feel so cared for that you don't need more. Then you turn from a taker into a giver. As long as you're not fully present and don't feel cared for, then every element of everything you do always has a little bit of element. Yeah, but what's in it for me? Because you're trying to find your wholeness, but you're trying to find it on the outside where you don't find it, because you already have it on the inside, but your focus is on the outside. You know, it's like if I have money in my left pocket, but I only look for money in my right pocket, and there's no money in my right pocket, I could say, oh, I'm broke, I need to go on welfare because I have no money, because I'm just not looking in the place where I actually have it. And we do that with ourselves most of our life, all the time, and have been doing that for 200,000 years. Maybe it's time for a change.
I agree.
And that's in a way, that's the human condition for everybody. You know, we're in that full presence inside our mother's womb. I call it the Buddha tank, right? And so we're just like there. There's no place to go. There's nothing to do. Everything's taken care of, and it's safe. And so we're just hanging up from a little cord in a little bath. You know, body's growing. We're not paying attention to that. We're just in the light, enlightened, because that's what's within us. So then we come out into the world, and now we have to get to know the world, and our awareness is drawn out through our senses into the world to assess, is this friend, is this foe, or is this irrelevant? And that's for physical survival. And we have to learn that. And in the process of learning that, we get disconnect, our focus shifts, moves away from being connected inside to the wholeness of being, and goes out into the world. And with that disconnection comes discontent, and that discontent becomes a driving force. And then we try to fulfill that discontent on the outside, and it never happens. We get maybe 3 days of, yay, I did it. And then it's like, then that restlessness is back. And then it's like, okay, well, what can I do that, you know, maybe more money, maybe another guy, maybe something else will get me that fulfillment. No. You were born with that fulfillment. You need to come home. You need to do your homework if you want that fulfillment. It is not on the outside. It's on the inside. And you were born loaded with it. Every human being has the master living in their physical space. inside their physical space. And hanging out with the master that you are, that is unconditional love, is a really nice way to spend time after your chores are done. You know, your babies have grown and whatever the chores were that you took on, right? I mean, we're talking about midlife crisis and, you know, losing purpose when,
Right.
you know, when, you know, and the purpose, you know, what is the purpose? Number one purpose wasn't raising kids. We might have thought that it was, but number one purpose has always been, you were given a gift. You were given the gift of humanness, right? Because basically you're just made out of a little bit of air, a whole bunch of water, a little bit of dirt, right? And air is interesting, but not that interesting. And water is interesting, but not that interesting. Dirt is interesting, but not that interesting. But when they all get mixed together in this form, this is incredible. All the things human being is capable of, you know, all the moods and all the excitements and all of the, you know, and then in an incredible environment called planet Earth, booting through space at 60,000 miles an hour, I think, right? And turning, and seasons changing, and sun shining, and waves lapping, you know, and it's like, here we are. This is the most incredible thing. How to be present to that. How to be present to that. And then number two is raising the kids. Because if you do that first, then imagine what kind of a parent you will be for your kids. And if you didn't do it first, then, and you do it now, imagine what an inspiration you can be for whoever you live on this planet with. And I find that so interesting. That's my goal. 8 billion people living lit up from within. Because the light's already there. It's a matter of going in instead of looking away from it, looking into it instead of looking away from it. When we do that, we will feel so cared of. We won't steal each other's stuff. When we stop stealing each other's stuff, we can live in harmony. And remember, that was my goal when I was 6 years old, right? You can live in harmony. When we live in harmony, making sure that everybody's basic needs are met on a long-term sustainable basis, would be actually very easy to carry out. But because we haven't done the homework, we don't see it. You know, peace is everywhere. Peace exists everywhere. Everywhere. Has always existed everywhere. Even on the battlefield. Peace exists everywhere, but only peace knows that. So if I don't go to the peace within me, I won't see it. And if someone doesn't see peace everywhere, it's because peace in them is not doing the observing. So the first thing is you got to find the peace inside. And from there, you recognize peace is everywhere. Right?
Right. Well, I really appreciate you sharing such wisdom and insight today. And I will put all of your information in the show notes where people can get hold of your book and how they can get hold of you. Do you have any parting words that you'd like to say before we hop off?
Yeah, parting words is, you know, whatever anybody told you, whatever you told yourself, most of it's not true. You are magnificent. You are awesome in your nature. And the more you go in and dig it out, the more awesome is going to be your experience of the time that you have on this planet. And by the way, it's a short time. 4 billion years, 4 billion years I didn't exist. Now I get a few years, maybe 100 if I'm lucky. And after that, I won't exist for 4 billion years. This is the holiday. This is the, you know, this is the time, right? And what's within us to experience is so awesome that it just would be a huge shame to miss it. And nobody can experience it for you. So if you don't experience the magnificence of your own being, then it's a wasted gift. So.
Well, thank you so much. We appreciate your time, your input, your wisdom, and we'll chat again.
All right. Thank you.